Oh my god, finally! It's out! Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome to my review for Beauty and the Beast. Is that how it goes? Who am I talking to? I've been waiting for this movie for months. I love the original 1990s movie. It's so good. One of my favorite Disney movies ever. I loved it. I really do, and I still watch it to this day. I don't care what anybody says. And I'm sure I'm not the only one there, especially a guy like me, you know, in his mid-20s. I bet there's plenty of guys that still watch that cartoon. It's amazing. I love that movie. So when I heard there was going to be a live-action remake, I was like, you know what? They've done a good job with Cinderella, which is a Disney movie I actually do not like. So they did a live-action adaptation of something I didn't like to begin with, and they actually did a good job. The Jungle Book movie was fantastic. Maleficent was meh, but you know what? It wasn't terrible. It's not like if Maleficent came out last year, I'd be like, oh no, I'm so worried about the Beauty and the Beast remake. Oh, so I was still excited for this live-action adaptation to the 1990s movie that was also a adaptation of the fairy tale, which was also adapted a few times before. One with Ron Perlman. That one was a weird one. That was a very weird one. But anyway, let's talk about this movie. Do I need to explain the story of Beauty and the Beast? It's pretty much exactly the same as the original, except they add a little bit more because the movie is about 40 minutes longer than the original, so they have to add, you know, some stuff. They add a couple new songs. I think they actually replaced one song and did a new one in here. There's like a couple of new characters. Some of the characters that we've seen in the previous movie have different backstories, or actually more fleshed out backstories. So we get some new stuff in here, but for the most part, it's the same story. There's going to be a lot of scenes you watch and go, oh, it's the scene, oh my god, it was so good back in the 90s, now it's so good now, oh, I love it, oh, look how beautiful Belle is, oh, they call her Beauty for a reason. I apologize, I do not know what has come over me. I am slapping myself constantly and talking to people that aren't there. It's a straightforward live-action adaptation to the classic 90s Disney movie, with some changes, of course. Like I said, you know, there's some backstory changes. Like Gaston has a different backstory, only because I feel like it's because Luke Evans is not as bulky as Gaston was in the original cartoon, so they had to change his backstory a little bit because it still would have made sense, but they changed it a little bit, I guess, so you could feel more for Gaston, which I felt plenty of emotions for Gaston in the original. Gaston's my favorite Disney villain, so I love Gaston enough. You don't need to make me love him even more. But they tried, and it worked. But you know, there's some differences, like some of the lyrics for some of the classic songs, like "Be Our Guest" and the Gaston song, and even the Mob song. They're different. There's some differences there, so it makes more sense for a modern day audience, and also it makes more sense for this Beauty and the Beast, because even though the beats are exactly the same, there are some differences with some of the characters. So overall, it's the same thing. At the end of the day, it's the same Beauty and the Beast with just some extra stuff in there. Like it's like you bought DLC, like downloadable content. If you play video games, you just bought some DLC for the original Beauty and the Beast, and it came with like an HD reskin and a couple of new levels. That's pretty much what this is. It's DLC for the original, HD remixed enhanced edition, championship edition plus 2017 edition. So there you go, that's what you get. But hey, that's what I wanted. I didn't want them to tamper with something that was so perfect at first, so they didn't tamper with it. They just added to it, and they made a really solid adaptation with some really wonderful performances. I think Emma Watson is really good here, even though I would say this Belle is maybe a little bit less likable than the original, because the original, at least you can say, like, it's an 80-minute movie. It's really quick, so you don't really get to stay with these characters as long as you do in this one. And she's the main character of this movie, so for 2 hours you follow her for most of the movie. And you don't really get to know any extra details. Like, you get to know a little bit about her mother in the past, which is different, completely different than in the original. But you don't really get to know her more because of the mother side plot, really. It's just there just so I guess you could feel more for her, but not... I mean, I don't feel more for her because she had a mother that maybe or maybe not died. I don't know. And you know, there's some things, but she is still really good in this. It's just not as, you know, well done as it was originally. I guess I'll be saying that a lot. But I will say Dan Stevens as the Beast slash the Prince was really damn good here. Actually, I felt for his character more than I did in the original. The original, he seemed like a dick for most of the movie until the last 20 minutes. Then became emo because, like, she's gone, whatever. In this one, I felt more for him because he's like cracking jokes here and there, and he actually has a pretty damn good chemistry with Emma Watson's character Belle, or Beauty, and they actually have a really easy, very, very nice chemistry. They do a really good job, and also he's really, really good when it comes to being charming. That's what I'll say. Yeah, he's not Prince Charming. You know, at first you really hate him, especially the first 5 minutes of this movie when you see him. Immediately I was like, oh fuck this guy. Why am I going to root for him? And then later on I'm like, oh okay, he's you know, and they give you a little bit of backstory so you understand why he's the way he was in the first 5 minutes. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Everybody else is great, but I will say this: Kevin Kline really surprised me. I thought he was really good as Maurice, Belle's father. He was really good. But Luke Evans and Ewan McGregor, those two stole the movie for me. Everybody else is great. Emma Thompson as Mrs. Potts, Ian McKellen as Cogsworth. I'm sure I'm missing some people, but you know, Josh Gad as LeFou. Everybody was really damn good here. But the two that really surprised me were Luke Evans as Gaston, who I really like. Luke Evans. I've always liked him. Ever since I saw The Raven, I thought that movie wasn't that great, but I thought he was the highlight of the movie. I thought he was really good in that. And ever since then, he's been in movies, but he's always been really good in them. Like he was in that Dracula movie. Thought he was really good in that. He led the movie. If that movie is tolerable, it's because of him. He's really good in that movie. But even the Hobbit movies, High Rise, he's really good in High Rise. I highly recommend you see that. But it's not terribly amazing movie, but he's really good in it. But I always like that guy, and here he really pulls off Gaston's personality very well. He might not do the physique wise, but you can tell there's something intimidating about this guy. The way he gives off like just even the way he stares at certain people. There's one part that is actually really scary later on where they do the mob song from the original, which was a really catchy song. Here it's actually terrifying because of Luke Evans. He does a really good job. Also, he's great at singing. Everybody here is an excellent singer except for Emma Watson, and the only reason why I say that is because you can tell they auto-tuned the hell out of any time she sung. Anyway, he's great, but Ewan McGregor as Lumiere, of course, the candelabra. Everybody loves him in the original, and he's great here, even though he doesn't really quite pull off the accent. It's kind of charming in a way because, of course, Ewan McGregor, what is he, Scottish? He can't really pull it off, but he does an admirable job, and he's also very charming. And there's even some new lines in this movie that they give Lumiere to make him a little bit more like charismatic and a little bit more not French. What's the word I'm looking for? Like energetic. He's a little bit more French. He's the most French of the characters, I'll give him that. But he's really good in this. So those two really stole the show for me. Everybody was great. All the songs were really well performed by pretty much everybody in this movie. Hell, even Kevin Kline gets a moment to sing. I'm like, oh, Kevin Kline. I love Kevin Kline. I love all these actors, really. So everybody does a damn good job. And when it comes to the revised versions of some of the classic songs like Be Our Guest and Gaston, the mob song I mentioned, these are all excellent in my opinion. They are really, really good. Very well done. The changes are perfect. Like there's a couple little changes so they make more sense with this Beauty and the Beast, and it works very well. They look great. The visuals for all of them are pretty much top notch. Be Our Guest, I will admit, that gets a little bit too much visually. Like there's a little bit too much visual stimulus towards the end of that. Like it's just throwing everything at you, which the original did too, but it wasn't quite as vibrant and colorful as this one is. And I know that doesn't sound too bad, but believe me, it gets a little bit too much. But for the most part, every one of these revised songs are great. There's a new one called Evermore, which is really good, performed by Dan Stevens, who is a great singer. Everybody here is really good. Even Emma Watson, even her with the auto-tune. With the auto-tune, she sounded pretty great until you could hear the auto-tune. But like, there's some new songs, there's some new stuff, there's some new characters. They added some stuff, and it really does work. So Beauty and the Beast is a really, really good adaptation that isn't quite as good as the original. I would say it's far away from a classic. If this was the only Beauty and the Beast, and we only had like all the other adaptations, besides maybe the 1941, which is a classic as well, then I would say this wouldn't be getting the reviews that it did. If this was the first one, this wouldn't be getting, I'm sorry, not the reviews. This has been getting meh reviews, but it wouldn't be getting the box office it's getting and whatnot. It would still be well received, but if this was like the first adaptation from Disney, I don't think there would be as much love from fans, or from just movie-going audiences, I should say. But because it's based on something and those songs are so good, you know, people love it just because, hey, it's a new version. Yeah, everything looks great for the most part. It's top notch. It's top quality. Well directed by Bill Condon, the director of the last two Twilight movies. Well done. And actually, you know what? This movie sucks. I forgot. There's an openly gay character in the movie. Oh yeah, never mind. This is 0 out of 10. Fuck it. No, I'm just kidding. But I have to give it a straight up 32 out of 40. It's a really good adaptation that really does justice to some of the songs, some of the characters, the visuals. It does a really good job. It does it justice, and I highly recommend checking it out. But most likely you probably already have, because it made about, I don't know, about $3 billion this weekend. I could be 1 or 2 billion away from being correct there, but I'm pretty sure it made I think every single dollar in America this weekend. So hey, you know what? More power to you, Beauty and the Beast, and I can't wait to see that Lion King remake and the Mulan remake and every remake, freaking Little Rascals remake, fucking, I don't know, Dread remake by Disney, I don't know, whatever. Well, what else are you gonna remake? Die Hard? Die Hard? You gonna do? I'm just looking at my Blu-ray collection. Just remake Die Hard and make it a Disney movie. I don't care, whatever. You know, Yippee-ki-yay, Toy Story. Fuck it. I don't care. Fuck it.